So the whole point of this, we did this series actually last year, and this is when we started it. I asked a bunch of friends of, what their preference is at this time of the year, desktop over QBO, and they're adept and have supported both platforms their whole career, right? So moving more clients to QBO, but they still have a few on desktop or whatever. It depends. So basically questions around, the theme is that with QBO, obviously no file transfer, that would be the favorite one, but also some of their quotes around being able to access the books all year long allows them to get to taxes faster in December and January, because since they've been able to touch those books, right, then they're less messed up by the time they get them. With desktop, you might be getting a portable or backup file that you're getting, in December or January, what have you, and you might not have looked at it in a quarter or 6 months or whatever. So irrespective of assuming books are clean, if you're using QBO, you will know if the books are clean well in advance to performing the return. Where in desktop, it's more common to have to clean up garbage. So these are just direct quotes from some of the friends I have in the industry that are supporting both platforms, right? And they have some desktop clients and as well as QBO and what they prefer. In desktop, you're more likely to see errors to fix. You've not been in the file throughout the year. I'm more comfortable setting a closing date without a password, as I'm going to see the changes anyway. So there is a close date. We'll talk about that. Some key accountant settings too that are related to tax time of the year for tax professionals, particularly the closing date password, which is very similar to desktop. However, they just feel more comfortable setting it without a password, right? Because they're going to see the changes when they log in, because it's one single ledger in the cloud, right? You're not having to get a backup or an accountant's copy or portable file or something like that emailed to you, and it doesn't matter what year the client's on. So this is some of their benefits. The single ledger in the cloud is the best quote I can recall. But working together with the clients often throughout the year. Again, bank feeds, reconciling faster because the data is in there. The reports are probably more up to date, particularly if they're using the phone app, to take pictures of expenses and letting that be created in QBO with an attachment and all that the desktop doesn't have or requires hosting. So there's some of the benefits they're noticing, and we're accessing it from QuickBooks Online Accountant, which is where we're going to start anyway. So more on top of the books, accessing QBO file more frequently, so less year-end cleanup. Okay? And I'm just trying to see if there's any other. I don't see anybody else kind of talking about audio or visual difficulty. So again, feel free to use the chat area to communicate with me, particularly with questions I'll try to address as we're going. So these are some of the quotes I got from friends I interviewed last year when we did this, right? And they're still going to be, important. Now, a couple quick slides and we'll dive into product. 78%, it's now more like 80+% of small businesses will be moving online by 2020, meaning the accounting software of their choice will be in the cloud. There'll be a web-based, and then you can access too. They can invite you, right? So, and also as of first quarter FY18, and into its fiscal year goes August to July. So at the end of October, we are at 2.55 million subscriptions, and there's 3 million desktop users, right? So we're like catching up to desktop, where we're going to be 50-50, and we're still supporting both platforms. So don't worry about your Pro Premier clients or even Enterprise. They're going to be there. We're going to continue to support desktop. However, most of our marketing, investment, product development, it's all around QBO or QuickBooks Self-Employed, which, by the way, you can also support using QBOA. We'll talk about that a little bit too. You might have some Schedule C clients that only need those categories, not necessarily need a bunch of transactions, but they can give you a tax report, right? So that base is growing as well, up to 425,000 subscriptions, and then we grew 58% with QBO. A lot coming from desktop, but a lot of new to Intuit. They're pretty much choosing either QuickBooks Essentials or Plus. Now I know there's Simple Start too. You might even have a few clients, but the Simple Start product of QuickBooks Online doesn't have a general ledger or trial balance. So we're going to be looking at the trial balance report today. Actually, that's what I'm going to export to Excel, because you might not be using ProConnect Tax Online. So I want to make sure, well, how do I get the trial balance into Excel so I can bring it into, CCH or whatever else I'm using? It's not just about ProConnect Tax Online, though I am going to show that sending balances over, as well towards the end. So the only reason for these slides is just to align that, hey, if you're not even psyched about QuickBooks Online, right, and you're really more comfortable with desktop, that's fine. Get a couple people in the firm that can take on QBO, because you're still going to get the same trial balance, right? That report is still going to go to tax. So if it's coming from desktop or QBO, who cares? Just get some people on QBO and certified and things like that, okay? All right. Being on the cloud, just some obvious stuff. Improved collaboration, accessible anywhere as long as you have high-speed internet access. And again, my favorite is the no data file transfer. Don't need to get the accountant's copy, which is pretty limiting, right? Often their bank recs are undone, as you know, and you can't do much with payroll. But it's still a good solution for desktop. The accountant's copy is still alive and well with that file transfer service, but still, you don't have to do that because you're not in a version of their data. You're in the data file. Okay. Anyway, here's what we're going to look at. We're going to start with QBOA, client dashboard, team involvement. That's really important. I like to spend time there, work, how you can even restrict team members, even for staff coming in to QBOA just for the tax season, you know, just turn on clients for them, but not anything administratively. So we're going to look at that first. Then we're going to get into a QuickBooks, a client's file. How do you navigate it so that you can get open windows, right? We'll look at reporting, some accountant tools, setting default date ranges, some key settings. We'll look at a journal entry and a few other things that I think it's important, as well as we'll be, after customizing reports, exporting reports to Excel or PDF, and then so that you can, you know, a lot of other tax software does download from Excel. So how do I create that file? And then we will look at ProConnect Tax Online integration. I'm going to literally send the file over to the return. I believe I'm going to be an 1120S company. It's going to be kind of sample, so, you know, my data might be somewhat humorous to you, so feel free. Some part of this will be entertainment, but the point is just showing how it goes over. And then I want to end on bank feeds and bank rules. How do I automate the data entry into QuickBooks Online? Okay. So enough about that. We will come back. There's some other resources. I'll make sure I come back to these two slides, right, for other training as well as just other resources for the firm. So the firm's going to be using QuickBooks Online Accountant. You probably already have it. If you don't, you can sign up for it. You know, and this is, you know, your client is going to be in QBO. They're in QuickBooks Online. That's the data file. But you and the firm have this free kind of portal into their data called QuickBooks Online Accountant. It's just a skin. It's basically a free QBO file we give the firm. Whether you're using it or not, it's still there. And its engine is still QuickBooks Online, but it's QBOA, where all my staff can be invited and we can access client files and stuff. I can create subscriptions. We're going to go over that. But if you have not yet signed up for it, and it's even where you manage your Pro Advisor too. I should probably touch on that as well. But if you haven't signed up for it, you can go to quickbooks.intuit.com and then Accountant. And this is where you sign up. It's totally free. You only need one QBOA for the firm, right? We have some other promos, et cetera, regarding the subscription, but QBOA is going to be for the firm. That's where you guys are going to start, right? Like here I am. I have CleanBooks LLC, kind of funny there, on purpose. And, you know, the green color across the top, I have all of our clients listed, and we're going to surface up some data about those clients, like changes to closed books, right? Things, checks without payee, changes to reconcile. All these things are really important as like red flags in the file. You know, you can even add desktop clients, but we're not going to surface up that data. But for QuickBooks Online, you know, we're going to surface up all this data. And then we'll go through Team Pro Advisor work. Now the client, here I'm also in QBO using Chrome just as a client, right? So they're just in their client, their QuickBooks Online file, their data, which I can access too, right? I have cloud collaboration in the list, right, for my other staff to access. However, the client's accessing it this way, which we don't want to. You don't want to be invited as the client or go in as them or as a company admin. I'm going to go to the Manage User window because I want to just tell a little bit of the story of where this accounting firm thing happens. So in the Manage User window, everything up here, this is your client. You don't even need to be a master admin, even if you're paying for the subscription through wholesale billing, right? You're an accounting firm, right? So you're down here. Only one of you needs to be down here. Typically, best practice is it's the master admin at QBOA, whoever started QuickBooks Online Accountant, or any other full team member, right? And you wonder, well, how do my other staff access? Where do I go invite them, right? Well, they don't need to be here. Only one of you needs to be down here. This is the accounting firm, and that's what it should look like on all your QBO client files, whether you create the subscription from QBOA or it's a new client to the firm that already has QBO. They would invite you. You accept the invite, and then they're on your list. Now, where does the staff come into play? It's under the team on the left. This is where you go invite your staff at their own unique email address to access and work off the same client list. This is the one consolidated client list. Now, for Ray, for example, she just comes in during tax time, right? So administratively, I'm going to invite her at her own email. She's not going to use mine. and I'm not going to invite her to a particular client file in the Manage User window. From QBOA, I am going to check off in the Client Access tab all the clients I wanted to work on for the tax season. Right? I think she's got 10 or 12 or something that she sees when she logs in. She logs into the same QuickBooks Online account and I do, but she has, I have 60 clients, she has like 10, right? So you can choose what clients you want Ray to work on and no others. Now, for Clayton Adams and Cloud Collaboration and all these other files that she has access to, the Jurassic Park Gift Shop, Katie's Company LC, etc., she's basically a company admin to that file. She can do payroll there. She can see all the info. I can't restrict her once she's in the file. However, I can just choose what clients I want her to work on, right? And then administratively, what can she do in QBOA? So I turn off everything. I don't want her accessing our free QBO Plus file we use for the firm, for our firm books. I don't want her to create QuickBooks Online subscriptions or add other users or see our firm credit card or anything like that. So when Ray comes in, I mean, look at my view. I have Clients Team, Pro Advisor, Work Apps. I got the Your Books file. It's the free file we give you. Don't use it till you really want to use it. It's not meant to be a sandbox. We give you a sample file under the gear icon. Right? And I have Add Client where I can go and create a client subscription. However, Ray, when she comes in, this is what she sees. She sees her 10 clients. Clients, Pro Advisor, Work. There is a Work feature I'll talk about briefly. We want to encourage her to get certified, but she has no Add Client, no Your Books, no team page, right? So you can really restrict what the staff are doing administratively as well as what clients they access when they log into the same QBOA, okay? So they don't need their own QBOA. We're all coming into the same one at the firm, and I'm choosing what clients Ray gets to use versus what I use, etc. So I just want to make sure we're aligned there on the team. The other thing to mention, too, when you add a client, just so you know real quickly, when you're putting in a new client and you're creating a subscription, maybe it's like a new client to the firm, you can do their taxes, so you want to get them on like Essentials and then do a quick bank feed for the year, set up some bank rules, and just get to the reports. You can do wholesale billing, and it's 50% off for life for the sub, the subscription, even with payroll. Or if the client's billed and you don't want to pay for it, they will get a discount for the first year, and then it goes back to the retail, right? So the wholesale billing, I just wanted to mention, and if your account manager, whoever invited you here today, has already mentioned this, wholesale billing, that would be the only time the firm's going to be paying for anything regarding QBO. QBOA is free. Certification's free. Inviting your staff is free. But if you are going to take on, hey, I bill my clients out monthly or quarterly for services, we're just going to roll in the QBO, then wholesale billing is advantageous because it's the cheapest way to get the subscription. 50% off for life of the sub. So Essentials is $17.50 a month, Plus is $25. So, and also the payroll will be 50% off as well. So Ray can't create subscriptions, but I can, right? So just a little bit on that. Real quick too, Pro Advisor, here's where you come in and get certified. So we want to give everybody that. And then as well, and I wanted to mention Work before we dive into a QBO client file, because again, we want to get some more feature set in the tax integration. Pro Advisor, just again, you can get certified. That's also free for any team member. You can work on your profile. You can even connect your desktop Pro Advisor membership. Maybe I should just show that where you go to do that when you're part of a QBOA and you're a desktop Pro Advisor, right? So you get QuickBooks Accountant Edition and Enterprise Accountant. In here, you click the drop-down arrow and connect accounts, and you'll just get your customer account number from us and then your license number for QuickBooks Accountant Edition. This will connect to your Pro Advisor desktop, all the certifications, as taking the exams and the software to your QuickBooks Online account and login, and you'll manage everything from the Pro Advisor tab. There's no external website needed for that. You'll do it all here. Right? Your profile that's published online, any training for you or your clients, discounts, software, etc., will all be here. Right? Now, the work piece. If you're not using practice management, well, it's not really full practice management. It's more task and project management and file share. If you're not using anything right now, you all can create projects for your staff from within QuickBooks Online Accountant. I think we did not show this last year because it wasn't really live in all QBOA. So I want to make sure you just know a little bit about it before we dive into a client file. So I can create a project, and this would be like 1040, prep, and choose the client that's going to have it and when it's going to be due, by. You can choose the date or whatever. Obviously, you wouldn't make this repetitive, but, you can make recurring projects, like bank feed, bank reconcile, and reporting. That could be a monthly thing you do for clients. And I can even duplicate existing repetitive projects or projects for other clients. But I'm going to assign it to me or any other staff member that has access to that client file that I checked off the box. Put in some details. I can even add subtasks to the project itself and assign it to a different person. So with the work in the project management or task management within work of QBOA, it's about the name of the project, what client it is assigned to, what staff has taken it on, and due date, and the status. That's what we're talking about. Right? So I'm going to not save. You see mine here that I have, things like that, and I can quickly change it to another staff and put in progress and, all this stuff. I can see out. I can change it to list view and look at just, everything that's to do or in progress, for the next 30 days. And I can see who it's assigned to, right? Ray, Leah, Valerie, me, etc., the type, and then what's the status. And I can change these on the fly, too. As well, as you saw, I can just drill in and change it to, Ray. She's going to take that on. She told me it's in progress. You can block stuff, things like that. So you can also turn on the QuickBooks feed, which is basically payroll due and bank feed that has yet to be added to the register. Right. So, but I usually turn that off just because it makes the window get super busy. I just want to see the projects I'm creating or my staff is creating, and I want to be able to track date it's due, who has it, and the status. Right? And you can do recurring projects as well. So if you're using Excel or something, this might be really advantageous, not meant to replace yet at this time, something else you might be using. The other thing that's helpful too, and particularly this time of the year. So if you're already doing project management, great. You don't have to use this at all, except there is a client request feature. So we brought back and we kind of built in the ability to request a document from the client. So, you need, a particular form in order to process, the 1120S or whatever. You need some forms from them, right? I choose the client. When I want them to upload it to me, I'll give them to like Monday. I know I'm a little ahead of schedule, but still. And the status is to do, and, please send when you can. Give them a detail. I can even add a document if they're, what document, what 1098 again? What does it look like again? I could upload a blank document to them, or I could upload our engagement letter for them to sign, those kind of things. So it's basically a portal. I'm going QBOA to QBO, and I'll show you where your client would see that in QBO. You obviously want to notify your client. It's going to send an email to them to tell them to respond in QBO. I'm not, because I'm just sending it to me, and I'm going to publish to client QuickBooks, right? So this is me creating a request. I have all these. If I filter the window by request, I have all these outstanding requests for clients to upload documents to me that I need. Right? It's a file share system within the work module of QuickBooks Online Accountant. This could be pertinent for what you're about to come up against with tax season and sending files back and forth, or at least getting them from the client. Now, if we go into the client file, where do you suppose they see those requests? Right? Obviously, they're emailed and they'll get an alert, but it's in the My Accountant tab in the left-hand panel. They would click on that, and here's where they will see from my firm. I'll do the most recent one. Right? We just asked them for this need form in order to process 1120S. So they can click on that. They can click Add Document and browse out, grab the document itself. We upload it. We scan for virus. It supports like PDFs, pictures, even portable files, Excel spreadsheets, things like that. Click Done. Now this is me, the client, right? And I can even ask them a question about it, Hope this is correct form. Let me know. Thanks. That's me communicating as a client back to the accountant or the staff member at the firm that I'm working with to, start prepping for my 1120S. Right? So they access it within the My Accountant tab within the client does within the QBO file, which you see as well. And then, if I refresh this window, we'll see the update. Now, this isn't meant to be instant message or anything. This is something you do perpetually throughout the day. And if I'm looking at my request, I need the form in order to process 1120S, I'll see, even though I'm not alerted, I can see that there's a question made or a comment as well as an attachment. So I click on it, and here's the document, right, that I can then download. So, and I can say, yep, thanks, perfect. And they would see this too. They would actually see it in an email, so they don't even have to access QBO for that. So you're communicating now from QBOA to QBO and back. You're initiating the request for the client to upload a form. And you can do that from within work, create a client request. And this is doesn't cost anything. It's just included in Work, and all of your staff will have it. Remember, even Ray has the ability to go into Work, see the assignments I've assigned to her, and try to get a document from the client to help her with the 1040 or whatever. Right, so there's that as well. Now, if you're already using Intuit Link, right, that's going to be more robust. Some of you guys are longtime ProConnect Tax Online users, so, or even with Lacert, right? So you'll use the Excel export out of the trial balance to go into the trial balance utility of Lacert. You might already be using Intuit Link. Keep going. They're two separate kind of file shares here. I mean, obviously the Link is way more robust, but just so you know. Okay. Well, enough about QBOA. So make sure we're aligned on how you get your team in there, how you can restrict them, and just select the clients you want them to work on during tax season and not let them do anything administratively, how you can add QBO subscriptions as well. But now and then you have the Work piece. Now let's dive into actually a client file. Now I can see that there's a closing date password already for 1031, right? 2 changes to closed books, 3 or more items. I can, and I can also see I started the tax return for 2017. The trial balance, I've already started that work. It's a working trial balance tool. We'll look at that, and I want to go continue it. So we're surfacing up some data for this particular client we're going to be looking at. Before I even click the QB meatball, which is just a quick way to get into the file, and when you hover your mouse over it, it shows the level of QBO and who's the last person who signed in. Before I do that, I'm just going to click on their name, and I can see even more information. I can put notes that only myself and the team members see. Bookkeeping amounts, when something was last reconciled, payroll due, and then shared docs, the documents that they have uploaded to me, and then finally tax. Right, I can start the client tax return now. That's going to log me into ProConnect Tax Online. One way to do it, but I'll show you the way you're probably going to do it from within the file. But you can access it from there too, right? So I'm going to click on the meatball. It's going to drop me in, right? Turns a dark gray across the top, almost black, and different from what the client sees. This is why I want to make sure, because there will be someone who might still be going in as a client, right? And you really want to go through QBOA for these tools that I'm about to prove, right? I'm making my case, if you will. Here's what the client sees, right? When Clay's in there, they just have, right, left-hand panel. They got the plus sign for transactions, just like I will too. When I'm in through QBOA, search, and then the gear icon for your operational settings. You get the home dashboard, and these are pretty obvious. We got bank feed, sales expense, payroll, reporting, sales tax, payroll tax, chart of accounts, and reconcile, and then we already went through the My Accountant tab. So this is, but you don't want to have this view. This is for your client. We want to be in where we have the briefcase up top, and you have the ability to switch in and out of client files. Right there, benefit of QBOA. Now before we look at the left-hand panel plus sign, do some multiple tabs, or tab browsing, and we'll start with reporting. Under this is toolbox, we're going to be looking at the trial balance tool, the batch reclassified transaction tool, and there's a lot of other accountant-related tools. If you're used to QuickBooks Account Edition, that's kind of what I liken it to, though not obviously having the same tools or the client data review tools, just a couple of them that you see there, particularly Reclassified Transactions. It has, Accountant Edition, QBA you might be using with your Pro Premier clients, right? So you have that accountant menu. Similar in theme, right? This is your accountant menu, and we figure places you're going to want to go when you're in the client file. Now, the first place I like to do, because this will impact company financial reports. If you go to Report Tools, then we'll look at the other tools as well. I can set the default date range for the P&L, balance sheet, trial balance will open to, this year to date. Or you want this whole year or a custom range. I'll do like this year to date in cash basis. So that way the balance sheet, the P&L, and other company financial reports will open to this year to date. We'll look at that in a second. The other thing is you can update the close book. Now this takes you we'll segue quickly to accountant settings, but I'm going to go ahead and click update. It'll bring me to accountant settings, also under the gear icon. Right? And let me show you that if you're not sure. I'll show you that again. You can click from here, or what if I want to keep this page up and then get accountant settings or preferences up too in another window? Right? You right-click the tab you're on, duplicate. I'll talk about Chrome and its benefit with QBO in a little bit. Firefox also does this, so does Internet Explorer. 11. If you have to use IE, use 11, please. But both Firefox and Chrome are great for QuickBooks Online, and obviously you see I'm using them both now. You duplicate the tab you're on. This creates another window. So this is me getting open windows, if I will. Now let me go to the gear icon, because gear icon is like your tools and your operations, right? This is where you can go to reconcile or one way, the audit log report, all your lists, and accountant settings. Remember, we were in manage users, another way to get to chart of accounts. So we're going to go to accountant settings because there are some specific accountant-related and tax-related settings that we want to look at. And then we'll go back and do open windows with reports and go over a few of the other accountant tools, and then finally send over to tax. Let me see if there's any questions over here. I don't see that, and it seems like everybody can hear me okay. You're seeing my screen, and again, like I said, I am recording. So if you have a question in what you're seeing, please ask it in the chat area. So first off, the company preference, choose a tax form for sure. I have the 1120S saved. There's another way to do that as well. The other accounting or tax-related preferences are under the Advanced tab. Sales, expense, payments, that's other stuff, billing and subscription. Oh, by the way, if you have the client QBO subscription under wholesale billing, this billing and subscription tab we remove even from the master admin of the file, for we do not want the client to see the firm credit card. Right? So it's totally hidden from them, and you have to handle all billing stuff on the client's behalf because you're paying for it because it's 50% off for life of the subscription, right? And that's also for those of you who signed up for the 5 for 25, right? They'd be under wholesale billing already. Okay, accounting, obviously. First month of fiscal year, first month of income tax year, I'm leaving it the same for January. And accounting methods accrual, or you could have it be cash. It really only impacts a couple of the tools, not really the reports, and you can always change the basis of the reporting level. But you could set a default. Not the reports will adhere to that, but some of the tools will, like the trial balance tool, for instance, which we're going to show. So I'm going to change it to cash. And this is where you set the closing date. We'll go ahead and leave it for October 31st. But if I was doing this training in January and I've done the cleanup, you might set it as of 12/31/2017. And remember the quote from one of the people that I interviewed, they don't mind doing a closing date without a password because they're likely to be touching the books at least monthly, so they can really track, some of the issues going on with ARAP or miscoded transactions, things like that. So they do it without a warning, but like desktop, you can allow changes after viewing a warning and entering a password that only you will know, right? Now, one qualification, company admins and the master admin of the file can come in and change this too. Right? Because again, you're coming in here, even the master admin of QBOA, accessing the client's QuickBooks Online, you're still just a company admin, right? You can't delete the master admin. But so a little different from, the user security and roles within desktop. But the point being here is you can set a close date. There's another way to do it, okay? So also tax form, another place to do it. If you want account numbers on, you can enable them. If you do not want to show them on reports or chart of accounts, you would uncheck the box. Really up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and save that. But this is where account numbers are turned on, and that's pretty much it from a tax standpoint, mostly about the entity type or the industry, and of course some of the fiscal year and closing books date password. Right. So let me close this tab. We'll go to duplicate again. Now. I'm going to leave it as this year to date in a cash basis. Okay. Under the briefcase, you have a quick link to accountant reports. Right? And one quick way to get there, because most of your company financial and the reports you're going to be running are in that bucket. But where we store it, when I click reports on the left, because in the left-hand panel, a lot of these are pretty obvious, But reporting here, maybe we'll take a look at Reconcile because that's changed in the last few months, just in case someone has questions or whatever. But when I come to accounting, it's going to, here I am in accountant reports. The buckets are business overview, and the rest are pretty obvious. Business overview to me, if you're used to desktop, is like company financial. So I have AR, AP, payroll, item-based reporting, products, inventory. Obviously, I have a QBO Plus subscription because it has inventory in it, sales expense, sales tax, right? Business overview, also a good way to get to balance sheet, profit and loss, etc. But accountant report, you won't see the trial balance in here, nor will you see the general ledger. Okay? So accountant reports is where you're going to see those types of things, right? Another way to get to the P&L balance sheet as well as a trial balance report. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up. Let's just do the profit and loss. Right? I have this report open. This, again, it inherits this year to date, and it's a cash basis. And I might see stuff on here that I don't like. As you're scrolling down, you might see something on uncategorized expense. I might see, right here. Before I drill in on this, though there's another way to batch change this, which I'm going to show you. Before I drill in on it, I'm going to lose my summary report. Because what if you actually did a quick comparison to the previous year, right? And you're happy with that. This is January through December 6, 2017 versus, the prior year. And you could add a percent, change or something. I didn't do that, but you could, right? Or a year-to-date column if you want or something like that. Well, I think it kind of is anyway, but still. You have this report, and you go back to uncategorized expense because you want to drill down to see the transaction detail behind that, but, I'll lose my summary report, right? That's part of the frustration. Like, then I have to go recreate it before. So I haven't saved this report. We'll talk about memorizing reports too, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So what you do is before I drill down, I'm going to right-click, duplicate on the tab I'm on, and that's going to bring me the same P&L with the two columns, right? And now I can go down here and drill down to, the 492.25 that I'm seeing on uncategorized expense, and it's a bunch of checks. So now that I know that, instead of drilling into each check to change the account and clicking, the warning and save and close and stuff, right-click on the tab you're on, duplicate, or you can go to the Accountant Toolbox, New Window, right here, New Window. It's the other way to do it. And I'm going to go to the Reclassified Transaction tool. You probably, for those of you who have been using QuickBooks Account Edition for a while, it's actually its own tool even outside of the client data review, but that whole module to help with cleanup and desktop, Batch Reclassify is one of the tools, and it's probably the most oft used or utilized tool of the entire, client data review module itself. For a couple reasons. Obviously, I can go down to uncategorized expense, and I can check these all off and reclassify them to the appropriate category. This is cell phone company, so, I'm probably going to do it to utilities or something. There you go. Or a sub-account or whatever, reclassify. This is going to move them in batch. This will help you clean up miscoded transaction. Sure, I can start classifying transactions using class tracking and do that in a batch well, but for account-based transactions, not item-based, but account-based, even journal entries and checks and bills and stuff that they miscode to the wrong account, or you create an account for them to write it to because they're not sure. Like Woody's not sure, I'm going to have them put it to ask me, and then I can just batch or classify it periodically, right? But a lot of accountants too, I'm realizing, as I've been doing my research and interviews, they're also using the reclassified transaction window to bird's eye accounts at the end of the year. They're looking at this year to date or this year, and they're seeing like unapplied cash payment income. Well, what is that from? So at least I can see what kind of types is causing it and drill in and see what that's from, as opposed to just using the P&L on a cash basis, because I would see that there too. Or they want to make sure that in rental income, the appropriate transaction type is in there. There shouldn't really be a journal entry, so those types of things. It also works with balance sheet accounts. Just when you want a bird's eye, what's in what? I think I have an example of prepaid expenses. I want to make sure the type, which you can sort by the way, is only journal entry here. And it happens to be. Great. If I'm seeing something else, then that's weird, and I could always change it or ask them about it. How much is in undeposited funds? Why do they even have an amount in there? Is it correct to what I'm seeing on a report? So you can use the batch classify for what it was intended to reclassify miscoded transactions to the appropriate account. But you can also use it to get a high-level view of make sure the appropriate transaction types are in each account, things like that. So that's one of the better features too, is that batch reclassify transaction to fix things. And I have, I've done that, and we recategorize. Now, to go back to the tab browsing, I have 3 tabs open, right? Let's go back to that P&L. Now notice, I'm still showing these checks in this account. That's because the tabs, though I have 3 tabs open in the same file, before I actually check a report or print one off or save it or export it, and you're doing data entry in another tab in the same file, make sure you reload the page or click Run Report. Now it's blank, right? So like in desktop where there's the auto refresh, you do transaction entry, and the check and the report you have open in the other window, it automatically refreshes, right? There's that first pop-up you get the first time you do it. That's not like in QBO in the browser, right? So before you were to see the result or email it or print it or export it to go into Lacert or whatever, make sure you reload the page or just run the report again. That's an important qualification for the tab browsing approach to get your open windows, if you will, right? And again, it's just right-click duplicate from what you're on. Now, let's talk about the trial balance. a bit. Other cleanup tools, again, I can see, what's been voided, deleted in the file. That might be helpful. It's built off the audit log report, which you can sort by user. The nice thing about this report is it shows, what user deleted stuff or voided stuff and when they logged in and out. So it's really more of a true audit experience. And from a firm perspective, I can see my name, and I can also see sometimes a firm name and other people in the file. The client will only see the actual firm name. I have a better file that has a better example, so I'll show you that at the end. But in the audit log, everybody in the firm can see, the team member's name and what they did. Clients will only see the name of the firm. Okay? So there's a voided, deleted transaction report. You got write-off invoices. Again, close books, reconcile we'll look at quick. Let's go back to accountant reports because I want to go into the trial balance. Now, the trial balance does not inherit the summary date range. So this is always just loads to this month to date, right? So I'm going to be wanting to look at like this year, and then run it. You might want to do a cash basis. Up to you. Change it. Again, that setting doesn't default, right? You can still change it at the point. And there's not a whole lot of customization going on with summary more reports, particularly like the trial balance. I mean, you have some general stuff, report period, the counting method. Do you want to not show zero amounts, or you want to show them in red or something like that? Rows and headers, I want to show, non-zero only. That will help to get the zeros out. And then what you can do with header footer, right? So I can run the report. If you're seeing like a web-based link or URL at the bottom of your print page, that's a browser setting that you can turn off, right, when you print it out. But now I have the trial balance report. And let's say, I've done the reclassify. Oh, let's right-click duplicate because I want to do some journal entry adjustments. We need to touch on journal entry, and then we're going to export the report and show you how to do that. Then we'll dive into the trial balance tool and integrate with ProConnect Tax Online. Journal entry. You can also do multiple tabs of that. Right-click, open a new tab. Could have done that already, so sorry about that. But now here's journal entry window because you're going to be making your ledger journal entry adjustments. And though it's not default checked, is adjusting journal entry, right? And I know journal entries by nature are adjusting. However, like Accountant Edition, there's a box, right, that's default checked for adjusting journal entry when you're in the file as an accountant, and that correlates to the adjusting journal entry report. So it's kind of fail-safe to your journal entry adjustments versus others. Hopefully your client's not doing too many of them. Probably agree with that one, but you have this adjusting journal entry report that you can view, and even send to the client when you're done working with them. And again, that's, I'll right-click and duplicate the tab and show you where that is. Again, I want to make sure you're seeing the multiple windows, right? It just duplicates the tab I already was on. I'm going to go to the briefcase, back to accountant reports, and you'll see these two reports that only you have, an adjusted trial balance report and adjusting journal entry report. And this report will only show journal entries that have that adjusting journal entry box checked. Right. One thing I did want to mention, the clock in the upper left. It's like your last 10 transactions. I'm going to go to number 128. And you'll notice something about this one in particular. There are two AR accounts. I'm sorry, there's an AR and an AP. So I can do multiple AR/AP adjustments on one journal entry in QBO, not so in desktop. And on any transaction you're on, I'm thinking accountants and tax pros, to get to the last transaction you did, just hit the little clock, right? And also you have this information down below, more transaction journal, that'll always show the debit credit behind the scenes. Obviously you wouldn't need this on the journal entry, but on like an invoice, a check, a bill, whatever, you want to make sure the appropriate accounts are credited. Click the More tab at the bottom of the form or the transaction you're reviewing. Click Transaction Journal. It's akin to the Control Y report in desktop. So, journal entries, more than one AR/AP. Remember the clock icon in any transaction type, and you can flag it as adjusting, even though I know by nature it already is, but it correlates to your adjusting journal entry report that you can then print out or run or something with your client when you're done with the final review of the file before it goes to tax. Okay, so you make your journal entry adjustments here. For customer and vendor type issues, when you're drilling down, it's best to go to actually their respective registers, go to sales, go to customers to see any open AR/AP, things like that, expenses, go to the deposit itself. So once you're cleaned up, there's one other tool to show, and then we'll talk about sending to ProConnect Tax Online. Under the briefcase, those are the main tools. You got batch classify, voided deleted transaction report, set the default date range. It doesn't impact the trial balance at this time yet, but for P&L, balance sheet, and some other company financial summary reports, you can set the default date range, including that batch classify tool, to this year and cash basis. New window or right-click duplicate, a quick link to ProConnect Tax Online, but to push the balances there, it's the trial balance tool itself. Now, you signed up for ProConnect Tax Online, or maybe you didn't. As a pro advisor and someone who's using QuickBooks Online Accountant, as we're looking at the Working Trial Balance Center right now, I think you get like 15 free returns or something, 5 business and 10 1040s. I mean, once the tax season starts, you'll start seeing some promos for PTO, ProConnect Tax Online. So, you know, if you're not ready to use it this year yet, because this is literally now we're looking at the online office story. I've done the cleanup in this file. I'm going to push it over to PTO and just be in review mode. I'll show you the input screen and stuff like that, but the balances are actually going to go over there, you know. But just try it out then this tax season. You know, pick some simple 1040 clients, 1120, whatever, and see how that integration, and see if it saves you any time. Real quick, I'm going to right-click duplicate again. And some of you might have asked, one person asked about the top icon bar. Yeah. So I do save like key pages, lists, and transactions to the bookmarks bar. So no matter what file I'm in, when I click on like chart of accounts, it'll bring me to my list of registers. You know, and there's reconcile. Right, so that brings me to accounting. So just like you have a top icon bar in desktop, you can do that too. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. And all I did is just bookmark it and save it to the bookmarks bar. You know, it's one of the things I like about Chrome. Chrome has the ability to create multiple people, so you can isolate the QBO work, you know, in a Chrome user, so it doesn't impact, you know, what you might be using in other Chromes. You know, non-related QBO. I have a non-QBO Chrome that I use for all work-related stuff, and yeah, I have so many bookmarks. It's just too busy to use for QBO. So I also like to clear the cache in Chrome for QBO because it makes it behave better. So I don't want to clear cache in non-QBO stuff because I got saved stuff in there. I don't want to clear that. But so you could have the ability to add a person with Chrome. Choose it, call it QuickBooks Online, and you can isolate all your QBO work in that Chrome user. And it's another way to be in multiple QBO company files with the same login. So more on that later. I didn't have tons of time to spend on that, but I will make sure that you all have our product video site. I'm putting it in the chat area right now. Please feel free to grab it and bookmark it. That is, we have tons of videos, particularly around browser best practices, QBOA related, and of course, QuickBooks Online, you know, bank feeds, stuff like that, which we're going to look at bank feeds too. All right. The reason why I came here is I'm going to reports, and when you save your customizations, you customize reports, right, you're going to save them here in the report. I don't have a trial balance, so let me go to accountant reports. We'll do the trial balance. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, so it's going to be this year, and I have it on cash, run the report, right? And we'll do that thing again. Sorry, I should have done this before, guys. But we're going to do non-zero. Non-zero. Okay. But I don't want to do this again, so I'm going to save the customization, you know. And this is going to be for 12/6/17. I can even add it to a group if I want to, or leave it. And then I can share it with firm only. That's the other benefit that's coming in from QBOA. I can share it with other people, but I don't need my client to see this one. This was fun for me for tax. I'm sharing it for just the staff. Even the master admin of this file, which is my client, will not see this report. This is particularly for tax, right? So I've saved it. Now, here is, you know, send, print, and export. I can export this to Excel or a PDF because some of you are not using ProConnect Tax Online. There's not a direct integration, right? So it exports to Excel. And then out of my trial balance that I can use to then go into the trial balance utility of Lacert, and I even think ProSeries has a drop-in or import from Excel, right? So that's how you would create, how easy it is to just send the trial balance to Excel or whatever report. Some people do a P&L and a balance sheet too for this, to then import into the tax software of your choice or that you're currently using. Right? So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Pretty easy to export out. Just make sure you save your customizations so that no matter who comes in from the staff that would have access to the client, like Ray, when Ray goes into this client file, right, here's Ray, I'm in Firefox, dives into the file as a team member, right? Same ledger as I'm in, single ledger in the cloud for this particular client. When she goes to reports, she'll see her memorized report list, which we call in QBO My Custom Reports, and then she can see the trial balance that Woody created this year, right? And she can open it up and finish off the return, right? So, but no one else can see it except for me and my team members. I think that's a benefit for that, for sure. All right, let's go back to the trial balance tool, and we'll look at bank feeds. Again, this is a working trial balance. Different from the report, it's just a workspace. I mean, I can freeze it and stuff. It does not prevent people from working in the file. As soon as I start the trial balance, and you can't really change the date range outside of just, I'm looking at tax year 17 or the last three, you know, and I'm looking at activity for all or just the client or the accountant. This is kind of like a mini audit log. The checks we've edited today, you'll see some other functionality. I edited a deposit. I started the review today, so it's just going to start to do a mini audit log, if you will, which you can minimize. And then you have working trial balance and tax mappings. So I have the trial balance, and I can start reviewing the amounts and checking off. By the way, the hamburger icon in the upper left gives you another few inches, collapses the left-hand panel. But I can start checking off, and it'll show who completed it. It just says I'm going down and reviewing these lines. It's going to show the accounts that have balances, non-zero, balances for 16 and 17. The ending balance last time I did the return for tax year 16 and the unadjusted balance for tax year 17, right? And the over-under, the activity, quite a bit in company checking. A pretty good year, 48%. I can also make adjusting journal entries from here, right? And these actually will have the default checkbox for adjusting to correlate to that adjusting journal entry report that we talked about a little bit ago. And I can drill in and see. I can also see other transactions in the file that are created by others. Not much going on there. The adjusted balance, as well as, scroll over here, I can do a work paper reference or add an attachment to the browse out and grab the, the last bank statement that I have for December for this checking account. And it has an attachment, right? So you can attach things within here too. When I'm done making my journal entry adjustments, and you can launch the journal entry tool from here or, again, under the plus sign, journal entry, in the other column, but since you're working here, you might as well launch it from here. Once you've done your adjustments, I can click Update Adjusted Balance, which will then, all entries and other transactions will be cleared and reflected under the unadjusted balance. You probably want to do this before you send over to PTO, to ProConnect Tax Online. The other thing that's really important, sure, I can view tax return, but go to tax mappings. So we have the Working Trial Balance tab, and you have tax mappings. And here, we're going to alert you when there's unmapped accounts. This is where you map them to go to the appropriate tax line, right? And if you disagree, I'm not really sure where retained earnings would go. You got to forgive me. But you can choose. Right? It's 1120S, so it's going to show me all the particular fields for the L, the Schedule M, and et cetera as I go down. And you guys will know this way better than myself, right? But these ones up here, certainly I can do, and you can assign a line, and I believe I have payroll tax payable here. I have gift in kind, so that can go to maybe a gift revenue or, gifts. So line 19, and then I have McKinney Division of Sales. So this is like a state tax or sales tax. You can look at sales tax payable, right? So you want to map it before you send it over. And we're going to map most things, but you still want to map it. And then I want to click View Tax Return when I'm ready. This is going to integrate with ProConnect Tax Online. It's going to open up ProConnect Tax Online, start the tax return, add the company info, and update the account balances. And I can click Continue. It actually lands me towards the bottom of the 1120S. I'm going to click on it. There's 1125A there. I mean, I'm in PTO right now, right? And here's the form for 2017. The balances came over. Obviously you want to adjust them first and clean them up. So I showed you some of those tools. But here's the 1120S and the balances that have come over. So I'm more in review mode, right? And this is the check return. Within PTO, there's profile, the client profile, the list of clients, the input return, check return, and file return. So I'll go back to input return, and then we can see, the available options over here. And the ones in use, these are the ones that will show that I have data in, right? So I can come down to income, right? Cost of goods sold. You can overwrite here if you need to. Under deductions, I have the balance sheet M1, right? So in use versus all, right? So not a lot of data, but I have the income, cost of goods sold, deductions, Schedule K, balance sheet, all that. Again, don't worry about my amounts, right? It's for the most part, a sample file, and a lot of people use it. So, but that's me sending, again, the balance is over to ProConnect Tax Online, where I can then, look at the applicable forms and then go to file them. It's a direct integration, including the company information comes over as well as the balances to ProConnect Tax Online. Okay. Now, getting the data in, and you have to, you can always open PTO, in another tab or, from the bottom of the Accountant Toolbox menu. But to actually push the balances, you're going to do it from the trial balance tool itself. After you've gone through and made your adjustments, used some of the tools I showed, made sure it's all mapped, view tax return, you can either create a new return or update an existing even. And you'll see that option too. But getting the data in, let's land on this. We got 6 minutes left. I'm not seeing any questions. Take a quick drink of water. But bank feeds. One of the backbones of QuickBooks Online. You might even be using it in desktop, but it's more automated in QBO for a couple reasons. Once you connect the credit card for your client or the checking account, and you can do this, you can create like an essentials file, $17.50 a month. You just got the new client. Go ahead and connect, click add account. Put in their URL, or you can upload data manually, like choose Chase, log in, or upload a file for like the last 6 months of the whole year. Just gets the data in quickly, and then you can start to work that data to add it to, to appropriately categorize it, go into the correct pay, and start creating rules for that. There's even an automation feature I'll talk about and show. But I have, this is what some of my friends that I was talking to about, why this QBO is easier for them during tax time is they have the feed going all year round. And whatever cleared the credit card or the bank yesterday should show up in this window. So we'll work the Amex card, right? And I have a checking account too. These are the 2 bank cards, company checking, Amex. Within each card, you have for review and QuickBooks can exclude it. So for review, these are the unaccepted transactions, the transactions that have yet to be added to the register. And so before I do any cleanup or part of the cleanup or I do the return, I want to make sure everything through 12/31 is appropriately added to the register. And that's why in QBOA you see that, one of those metrics we surface up from the file is how many unaccepted transactions you have to go through. And those are transactions not yet either added or matched, something already in the register. So you do that before you actually, send it over to ProConnect Tax Online. So now you don't have to do a rule for everything, right? And like 7-Eleven, QBO knows from last time that it goes to the 6240 account, right? Local meals. But then I also have Circle K uncategorized expense. So if I was to choose also, gas or something, right? Then it's going to remember next time. Everything for Circle K will be green for the 6132 account. Car, truck expense, and et cetera. You'll go through the stuff that's uncategorized to turn it green and add it. Now, within the For Review tab, which is stuff not yet added to the register, we have all the transactions I need to work, and then the recognized transactions. Transactions that are remembered from before, right? Like the Circle K, the 7-Eleven, and then where rules were applied. Like Amazon. I might buy a bunch of different stuff from Amazon. So I created a rule so that anything from Amazon, when any of the following criteria, when the bank text contains, and I think that's usually in caps, and then the description, which would be mostly the payee a lot, or I might need to have it go to a fixed asset. Let's say just one of the line items. We want to do the amount is greater than, 500? Yeah. Then I want to go this not to supplies. I don't want it to go to COGS or expense. I want it to go to another current asset or fixed asset. So rules are great if you have like a sophisticated transaction or there are multiple vendors of the same name within the city, or you want to make sure it goes to the appropriate account, but under $500 would go to supplies, whereas over $500 would go to fixed asset. That's where you want to create a couple rules for Amazon, depending on their purchasing habits. So you don't have to go rule crazy because QBO is going to start, remembering as you work the transactions in the For Review tab. But rules can be super helpful for that scenario, as well as what if this doesn't need to be reviewed? I can just check the box at the bottom to automatically add to my books. So now I'm like set up for auto entry. Okay. And you won't do that. That's not the default check mark for obvious reasons. You won't do that all the time, right? But if you don't need to review something, you just want it in the register, check that box. That helps automate the data entry from bank feeds into the client's file. So there's rules. There is just QBO doing its thing, so you can quickly check everything off that's been recognized or a rule's applied, or it's a match, and then accept into the register. And that's what you're doing for the credit card as well as the checking account. And when there is a match, it'll tell you one similar record found, because we don't want to duplicate. Someone already entered this check in there, or it was like, I think it was a debit card purchase. And this one actually might have come in from the phone app. That's the other thing. You know, you have the mobile app. Your clients can take pictures of expenses and create the expenses, and they'll match to the feed. It'll say one similar record found, you know, for the matches. So before I do the tax return and clean it up, part of that is going to be making sure that I work the company checking account and the Amex. Great way to start automating the data entry. The more you work it, the more QBO remembers, or you create rules to get the data in. And again, less cleanup then, because you're setting this up for your client. And then that way, when you're done with the cleanup, you can send it over to ProConnect Tax Online. Or, again, reports, you know, your custom reports. Make sure you save your customizations. Whether you share it with everybody or just the firm, you know, then you have your trial balance to go to another tax software. I showed you where you can go. Above right, export to Excel.